Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Hopefully you guys are doing well. Thanks for joining today. We are back on the KCS Greenville sub. This is episode number 8, and we are going to continue pushing south on the branch line toward Longview. So today we're going to work and build, rather, not work, but more like build the area around Omega, which has satellite lumber right here. And then we're also going to push a little further south and build a couple of industries we have over in our representation of what is Judson. So keep in mind, this area obviously is all a fictional branch line. This part of it never existed in the modern sense. This rail line was closed in the early 30s. And so all the modeling that I'm doing right now is completely freeform, freelanced, and it's really just kind of, what would I say, like a representation of something that could be. So we're not going to attach any specific weight to it or worry too much about being accurate. We're more just communicating the idea that these things exist. But this is just a lumber yard. So the way this works is our railroad ships in lumber to be sold here to consumers. And so we ship in loaded center beams and we take out empty ones. And that's pretty much all that we're going to have for this industry. Lumber is obviously a big time commodity that's moved a lot by railroads. So I pretty much always include that in my railroads in some way. Plus, obviously, it's incredibly widespread in use as a building material. So you never really go wrong by having some sort of lumber yard that receives lumber cars, either bulkheads or center beams. All right, and then we're also going to add in some of the finer details. Keep in mind that, especially when I build model railroads, I don't really go for too super detailed. I do obviously add a few convincing items, but I'm not really out here to create diorama level stuff. And of course, I always applaud and celebrate those who do. But for me, it's more about operations. So I really more go for the reasonable look and feel that communicates the idea, that gives a little bit of presence and life, but doesn't necessarily overburden any of our computers. So it's a little more potato friendly than something like the Coxswain sub, which is built, foot for foot, and therefore has a lot more detail and a lot more opportunity for wearing out our processors. So, but here we're going to place some of the trailers and just, adding some life. So the lumber mill can, ship out its lumber on flatbeds. I know I put a van there. Lumber mills also receive machinery and different things from time to time. So I do apologize for my voice. If you're noticing that my voice is a bit raspy and I guess probably a little deeper than usual, I definitely have been under the weather since the weather changed here in Texas. Only been, I guess, probably 3 days that I've been sniffling a bit, but I'm hoping that I'm on the last leg here of that and about to move on, but we'll see. Fortunately, I didn't have to try to shoot any clips about 2 days ago. That would have been really bad. My voice was really struggling back then. It sounded like Batman when Christian Bale played him. So, all right. And so here, of course, as usual, adding in some of the bush details and different things around the fence line just to kind of help break the scene up. This is a must-have for any scene. Don't ever hesitate to throw all that kind of stuff up there because people don't usually care to clean up fence lines, especially between property lines. Unless it's in a neighborhood, of course, that's different. And just wanted to create a little forested area as a transition. That's definitely not going to be the only forested area here on the route because this is East Texas in the north, and Northeast Texas is full of trees everywhere. Pine trees, oak trees, cedars, sweet gums, cypress, you name it. It's all out there. All right, and so I also wanted to fill in a bit of the texture, so we're going to, kind of create some variation, throw some dirts in there, and then add some crop lines here. Really, like I said before, most of this area, they just grow different grasses or hays. We don't really have like any cotton or wheat or corn or anything like that out here. Not in any sort of like large capacity. Most areas, it's, just grass and hay, and they sell that to cattle farmers. So we're going to, build out a couple of areas here where we have some cows and a barn and stuff like that. But, you can't have a cow pasture without hay bales. You can make them organized, all set up onto the side somewhere if you want, and stored for the winter, or you can kind of just throw them out there randomly. So I typically, since I usually model the late spring, early summer, is what I prefer to model. I typically throw my hay bales out in the field as if they have just recently been baled and just not kind of stored away yet. So hay can be harvested several times a year, depending on where you live. Since we're talking about Texas, I do know some people that I used to talk to about, growing hay and stuff. And if I remember correctly, I think they would get anywhere from 2 to 4 hay harvest a year, actually, which wasn't too bad in a growing season. So keep in mind the Texas growing season is like late February to freaking November. It's forever. But once again, throwing in some bushes and small trees and things to kind of line up the fence and break it up a bit, add some of those details to make it not look so monotonous. But here come the hay bales, and then we'll add some cows in. Got some Jersey cows. I'm not too picky about the kind of cows. Most people in East Texas, they raise. There's a few Angus out there. There's a lot of Brahmins that people raise. Those are the cows with the big hump right behind their neck. I always thought they were kind of funny looking, but you know what? They're cows. They have meat, and people eat them. And then, of course, there's a few Frisians here and there that people use for harvesting milk. So right there, if you noticed, feel free to back it up for a second if you need to, but I was holding the shift key trying to raise and lower the height of the water by just a small amount. And I had never realized before until just then, but that raises like a portion of it. So you can make like flowing water almost. It literally blew my mind. Never knew I could do that. I don't think I'll ever mess with that feature. I'll probably more likely just move in the, Trainz 22 and use the Surveyor 2.0 tools, but it definitely was not something I expected to see. So, all right, next up here is to start working on the small scrapyard. I can't remember if this one was the one that was going to handle mostly plastic or metals. I went ahead and textured it for metals. I think the one in Hugh Springs I had decided would be one mostly for plastic. But, I decided instead of just having scrapyards just for metal, I wanted to have one that specialized mostly in plastic waste and one that specialized in different metals and assorted scraps and things like that. So I do think this is the one that's going to be dealing with like mostly steel, aluminum, and things like that. Probably some copper as well, since I put some really dark metal over there. But if I remember correctly, that's what it is. And if I'm wrong, then I'll just go change it up in my little operating scheme. I've already developed the full operating scheme for the entire layout. So as I build these industries, I already know exactly what I want to have, where I want to have it. The only thing that's still a bit of a variable is figuring out the east-west mainline portion that we haven't built yet that runs roughly from Jefferson all the way over to Greenville. That's the part that we're modeling. It does technically go all the way from Dallas to Shreveport, but we're mostly focusing on just kind of getting this from Jefferson to Greenville. So that portion, I at least have a plan for it, but I don't know how accurate my final result is going to be. So I've worked on a scale drawing of it to kind of get it all organized, make sure I've got enough space. But now that I've built this guy out, I have had to make just a few adjustments even to this part of the layout, and so we'll see how that affects the overall model. But once this branch line is done, that's probably about a fourth of the entire route. I think what I'll do here after the next video or 2 more videos, however long it takes to officially finish up this branch line portion here, I think what I would like to do is kind of update the JMRI for this part of the route, and then have a brief operating session where we run a train or two. I think I'd like to run the UP interchange from Longview over to Hugh Springs and back, and then I'd like to run the local the way freight that goes from Hugh Springs to Diana, and then maybe run the local that goes from Diana over to Judson and back. So that would let us switch pretty much every industry that we've built thus far, which would be awesome. But that'll still be a couple videos out, and then depending on how long it takes to do that operating, I might break that into a few videos. So we might have a few operating sessions before we get to more building, but hey, that's the fun in it. Besides, I have always believed that you should operate your layouts as you build them so you can make sure to get the adjustments in early, especially if you need to make some track changes. And I especially had to kind of reiterate this lesson to myself this week. I was working on the Cox and Sub and realized I needed to make some changes to the main yard there, and man, I had a lot of problems with how I designed that thing. But I realized those problems because I had been operating it. So I've made, I guess, almost 30 videos now of operating the Cox and Sub, and plenty of opportunities for improvement and adjustment came from those videos. So yes, always, 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 as you build your routes, operate them, test them, look for areas you can improve and make changes, and then, make the adjustments. All right, so here we're going to work on getting in the transition from this part of Judson over into Longview. I'm not really going to model Longview because Longview is obviously a major city. It's probably almost 100,000 people nowadays in 2023. But I'm just going to kind of model it as just an area where the UP kind of has their staging. So we'll just have some buildings, and that's probably about it. I'll put an overpass in there, and that's it. But we're gonna use a forest as a transition. This is the Piney Woods, and there are plenty of areas inside the city of Longview where there's still lots of trees and some countryside and things. Obviously, not every part of the city is developed. So we'll kind of bottle this with this part of the route and create a bit of a view block as well. And it's a good feature for model railroads. You need some transitions. You don't want to have everything always in sight, especially if you're modeling an area that doesn't have tunnels or mountains or too many hills. You want to make sure that you use plenty of either buildings or other view blocks like forests, bushes, and trees and that kind of stuff. So, but we're going to get close to the end here. So just want to say thank you guys for joining. Thanks for watching. It's always a pleasure to have you on the channel. I hope you guys have enjoyed it, and stay tuned for more content. I have some JMRI concepts I want to develop, but I've been struggling for time just because of grad school. But grad school is going to be winding down here coming up in January. I should be graduating. Maybe I'll make it early and graduate in December. We'll see. Wish me luck. But thanks again, guys and gals, and we will catch you guys next time. So make sure to like, share, comment, and if you want to, feel free to hit the subscribe button. We'll see you next time.